Hey everyone, Matt here from Mile Marker 66 Barbecue, and today in front of me I've got a nice cube roll, a nice cut of beef here. Now this is where in New Zealand what we would refer to as our Scotch fillet steaks. They come from this cut. You may also hear them referred to as a ribeye steak as well. Now the cube roll comes from up high in the cow in the back. One end of it sits against the strip loin, which is where your sirloin steaks come from, and the other end up near the neck, butts up against the chuck. So that's where the cut comes from in the cow. Now, there's a couple of reasons that I like to buy these cuts whole, and you can buy them individually from your supermarket or your butcher, but I do like to buy them whole if I can, partly because it gives me the option to cook it whole if I choose to do so, but it also gives me the opportunity or the freedom to cut it up into steaks myself and select which steaks that I want to cook. All right, so before we get started, what I've got here is just an individual sirloin or ribeye steak that I picked up from the supermarket. Just have a look at some of the identifying traits of a ribeye steak and how you can tell them and what to look for when you're picking your steak. Okay, so what I've got here is a ribeye steak, just one that I picked up from the butchery at the supermarket. And there's a couple of things you can see there. The first one is that you've got this muscle here, which is the rib eye, I guess, or the eye of the steak. And then you've got this big fat seam that runs through here, and you've got this muscle that sits over the top here. And this here is what they call the spinalis, or sometimes referred to as the ribeye cap. And this is quite a desirable muscle here. It's nice and tender. And if anyone's ever cooked SCA before, this is generally something that you'll look for when you're selecting your steak. Now, another reason that I'll point this out as well is that if you are selecting individual steaks from a butchery or a supermarket, you want to select the best steak that you can for your money. So regardless of whereabouts in the cube roll that your steak comes from, you're probably going to get charged the same per kilo price. So you want to make sure that you're getting the best possible steak that you can. And ones like this with a nice big spinalis will generally come from somewhere more in the middle of the roll rather than the ends. So you can see actually here with this, if we have a look at this end, you can see here there really isn't any spinalis or ribeye cap at all. This is all just pretty much one muscle, and this is the end that's going to sit down next to your strip loin or your sirloin, and you can see it's almost got that little sort of sirloin look about it. Whereas if we flip around the other end here, you can see the muscles are quite defined and separated, and it's the more towards the chuck end. So if you're paying the same per kilo price for a steak wherever in this roll it comes from, if you've got the opportunity to select your own, then that's a really good thing. Okay, so what we're going to do today is we're going to actually remove that ribeye cap or the spinalis, and we're going to cook that on its own. In previous videos, we've been through reverse searing steaks and whole cuts like this, but this time we're just going to go straight hot and fast here on that spinalis. So you can actually see here that some of these muscles have already started to separate, which is good for us. And you can almost get your hand in there and you can see that little fat seam in there starting to separate. So what we're going to do is we're just going to get our knife and just come through, start separating that with our hands, and then just give it a bit of a help along the way if we need to with our knife. Okay, what we've got there, we've got this nice thin spinalis or ribeye cap here, and it is a bit thicker at one end because obviously the spinalis is more prevalent at one end than the other. So what we're going to do now is we're just going to trim this up a bit, get rid of some of the hard fat and the silver skin on there, and then we'll give it a rub and get it ready to sear. Okay, so there we go. We've got this lovely spinalis here. We've squared it off a bit. We've trimmed some of that fat off. Now, obviously, you've got this other offcuts here. The fat and the hard fat and the silver skin we'll discard. But obviously, we're not going to get rid of this. We'll cut this either into steaks or we might run it through the mincer and make some beef patties, but that certainly won't be going to waste. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to season it up, and today we're going to be using the Heavenly Hell Bronco Lane Broncos Badass Beef Rub. It's a really nice beef rub, so we're going to be adding some of this to our spinalis today. We don't want to over season, we obviously still want to be able to taste the beef, we just want to complement the flavour. Okay, right, so now that's seasoned up, we're going to let this sit here and we're going to go get our barbecue ready for searing. And you can see here we've got this lovely eye still left, so I think I might backpack that actually, and we'll save that for a later date and we'll cut that into some steaks. But in the meantime, let's get this barbecue ready for some searing. Alright, today we're cooking on the Acorn Junior, which is a really great portable little barbecue. Definitely my go-to for cooks like this, or steaks, things of that nature. So what I've done is I've just put some hot coals in the bottom. We've got the grill grates on top, but I've turned them upside down because I just want to sear it on a flat surface. And we're just going to shut this lid here. We're just going to let it heat up for a little bit till those plates are nice and hot, ready for searing. Okay, the barbecue's really screaming now. These grill grates will be nice and hot. So let's get this thing on and give it a sear. So what I'm going to do is just, well, what I've just done is just given the first side I'm going to put down on the grill grate spray with some cooking spray. And that's just going to help stop it sticking. If I spray the spray straight into the grill grates, it's just going to evaporate straight off. So I've done it on the meat instead. So we're going to chuck this on. We're going to go about a minute aside. Okay, we'll give the other side a spray. And we'll turn it over. Look at that, it's a nice beautiful char on there. Alright, let's get this thing off and we'll give it a bit of a rest. Okay, so we've got that off the grill, we've brought it back inside. It has been sitting on some pretty high heat, so we're just going to give it 5 or 10 minutes just to sit there and rest and relax a little bit, let those juices flow back out. Alright, that's had a good little rest now. It's been a good 5 or 10 minutes. It's feeling beautiful and tender, so let's give it a slice and see how it looks. Oh, look at that, beautiful. It's cutting through, it's so tender and beautiful. So what I'll do is I'll probably just cube it up a little bit here. Right, so that's cubed up, that's looking really nice, feeling nice and tender. Depending on how you like your steak, you can go for a little bit longer if you like. I like mine reasonably rare, so that's perfect for me. But it feels beautiful and tender. You can serve them however you like. You might want to cube them up. You can do them in nice thin slices. Really, that's your preference. Let's give one a nudge and see how they taste. All right. It's beautiful and tender. You barely need to chew it. That rub tastes really nice on the beef, but you still get that really nice beefy flavour. It's really nice. So cubing it's a good way to go. All right, so there we go. That's a hot and fast or a grilled spinalis or a ribeye cap. But hopefully you picked something up today just about the cube roll itself. Things that you can identify it by and different things you can do with it as well. You don't just have to cut it into steaks. You could do something a little bit different like this if you wanted to. A nice little appetizer or snack if you want something to do on the barbecue nice and quickly. As always, if you like our content, give us a like and a subscribe. And until next time, cheers.